Even though our cycling and urban space movement in New York City is sort of on the wane compared to its apex maybe 10 years ago, I think that when you look at public space like this that we've been able to create, you know, we're proceeding apace. I mean, here on Lower Broadway, just north of Union Square, you know, we basically pedestrianized and turned Broadway into a mall. You've got, you know, some driver access and obviously truck access to these businesses. But for the most part, we pedestrianized it, and it's just the highest best use for this land. It's obvious. As long as we capture our our revenues from the private use of this public space, which is putting out chairs and tables and having a cafe, we're really doing it right. People want to come to New York, and they come here not so that they can stand fearfully on the corner wondering if the driver's going to yield to them. They come here because they want to have a seat and, have something to eat and drink and watch the world go by near Union Square. And I think it's a testament to the success of these pedestrianization programs, of the bike infrastructure, that even when we have an administration, the Adams administration here in New York City, that I think on one level has expressed some hostility or skepticism towards these types of improvements, and certainly, a less of a critical mass in the city council for pushing forward these improvements. They're still being put in all the time. They're successful, they're popular, and everyone knows it's what has brought New York City back from the pandemic. This year is just going to be a hair under the number of tourists visiting New York City as 2019. And, before the pandemic, it went up every year. It was up in the high 60 million, 67 million, 68 million was the record in 2019. Up every year. Yeah, it went down in the pandemic. Of course it did. Now we're up in the mid to upper 60s again. We're about to just get back on track to where we were. So the notion that the congestion pricing is what's going to knock New York City for a loop and derail our economic recovery is hogwash. What is bringing New York City back is that we are remaking it around people, around commerce, around tourism, around the arts, and not around the car. And in some ways, the disruptions of the pandemic allowed us to go in and do that on a more systematic basis. So I have absolutely no doubt or concern as to whether congestion pricing is going to create some economic problem for New York. It is going to create a friendlier, more pleasant street environment, a more vibrant commercial level of activity on streets like this. And we're just going to keep going and making New York City the world-class city it should be.